So you clicked on this video because you want to know how to get sharper photos. I got the perfect advice for you. Let's get it. So first things first, I'm gonna give you 3 major tips that's about to help you with your images and make sure that you get them crispy, sharp as possible in any situation, in any scenario. First things first, we want to talk about making sure you're setting your shutter speed correct. And the importance of shutter speed is mainly to make sure that you capture the photo when there's fast motion or any type of motion going on. So the faster your shutter speed, the easier it is to catch anything that's in motion or any type of hand jitters or anything like that. So we don't realize that when we taking pictures handheld and we got the camera to our face, sometimes our posture can mess up the way that we're taking the photo. It can add them little micro jitters. For example, let me go ahead and grab a camera. All right, so now that I got my DSLR, as you can see, we'll take a picture, right? We take the photo, and sometimes we got little micro jitters. Now you may not feel that you're jittering, but naturally you're jittering because you're trying to keep a steady hand. So if you don't have the right posture, that can mess up the way that your photo comes out because of those little bitty jitters and having a slow shutter speed. So to get rid of those micro jitters, what you would do is you will raise up your shutter speed so that way it can eliminate that motion blur that comes when you got them little micro shakes and jitters when you're trying to keep a steady hand. My sweet spot typically is 1/100th of a second. That's what's worked for me. I try not to go anything lower than that unless I'm shooting with a lens that's 100mm. Then I will go to 200, because what you want to do is whatever your focal length is, you want to double that with the shutter speed just to kind of eliminate that micro jitter. But however, anything in between 200 and higher than that will work perfectly fine, but you want to make sure that the minimum is at least double what your focal length is at all times. Another reason why your photos is not coming out sharp is because you're not doing the right focal points. You're not focusing on the right areas. You're not focusing correctly. You're probably using a multi-focus point setting, and that's not gonna get you what you're looking for. When you're shooting portraits, man, you want to make sure that you have a single point focus. Some cameras now, such as the Canon EOS R, one of my favorite cameras, that camera actually has a face recognition, and it also even goes down to having an eye focal point where it searches for the eye and it focuses on that and it tracks it. So just keep in mind the sweet spot for the focal point is 1 point focus right on the eyeball. You want to make sure that you focusing right on the eye no matter what camera you have. That is the trick that will work, and it will get your photos perfectly focused no matter what aperture you're shooting with. It'll definitely get your images to be a lot more sharper. So just keep that in mind when you're taking those photos and you out there killing it. Another tip in all shooting situations, sometimes I know we do have to bump up that ISO and it will add grain to our photos, but sometimes a little bit of grain ain't bad, and I like putting grain in my pictures. It actually looks dope when I do those photos. Like, that's kind of like my favorite little style right now at this current moment. But you want to keep the ISO as low as possible in any lighting situation. If you gotta crank it up, but just try to keep that ISO as low as possible so you can keep those images sharp. Just to go back and kind of refresh your memory, the 3 major things that you want to make sure you focused on when you're taking pictures to get sharper photos is: number 1, you want to make sure you in a fast shutter speed. Do not try to shoot handheld with slow shutter speeds. If you need to, throw it on a tripod. If you got to use a slow shutter speed, and boom, you'll get that sharp image as well. 2, sweet spot focus. Eyes. Always focus on the eyes. The closest eye to you is the eye you want to focus on. Single point focus. Focus on the eye. 3, less ISO as possible. Always try to keep the ISO low. The first thing that I set is my shutter speed off the rip. Then I'm gonna go with my aperture. Then I'm gonna go with my ISO. But you always want to keep your ISO as low as possible. Remember that. If you don't remember nothing else, remember ISO is the grain. Man, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, share this video with another creative. Let them know these 3 tips, pay it forward. And I appreciate y'all. Y'all know what it is, man. I'm out. Let's get it.